to Intro to Synthesis. I'm Olive Del Sol, and here we go. All sound is vibrations. It's vibrations through air, or water, or some other material. But that's why you can't hear anything in space, because there is no material for the sound to travel through. Imagine we're on an XY axis. Y is your wavelength, and X is your amplitude or volume. So when your wavelength is faster, that means your pitch goes up. And the higher the amplitude means the louder it is. This is measured in cycles per second. So the amount of time it takes to go from the crest to the trough and back again. It's also called hertz. So here's a range of some sounds you might hear measured in hertz. So that deep sub bass or a low rumble of a truck is going to be in the 40 to 300 hertz range. And mid-range, the usual speaking range or singing range of a human, is in between 1 kilohertz and 5 kilohertz. And the overtones of a very high-pitched whistle or the very top of your hearing range is 10 kilohertz to 15 kilohertz. Here is the theremin. Now, a theremin is an instrument that you've often probably heard in sci-fi movies. Here's what it sounds like. It is an instrument that you play by not touching it. It is played by the proximity of your hands to different poles. One hand will control the amplitude or loudness, and the other hand will control the wavelength. What it's using to create this sound is called an oscillator. Any synthesizer uses an oscillator to create a sound by generating a waveform. The red box will show you where the oscillators are in Ableton's operator, and the green box will show you the waveform. There are oscillators in both hardware and software synthesizers, and some synthesizers can often play multiple oscillators at a time, like Operator has 4. There are a few different types of waveforms that you should know. One is called a sine wave. It's a pure tone, and it kind of reminds me of the emergency broadcasting system. So here's sine waves. A little bit bell-like. A sawtooth wave is created by blending waveforms. It's got a sharp, biting sound. And a square wave is also made by combining waveforms where it's either on or off, and it has a hollow reed-like sound. So the next waveform is not technically a wave because there is no pattern or cycles per second, but you'll hear it all over in music, and it's called noise. This is white noise, and kind of sounds like you're in between radio stations. Something else that you can use to adjust your sound is the ADSR envelope. ADSR envelope stands for A, attack, the time that it takes a sound to run up to its peak. D is decay, where it decays down to the sustain or the volume of the sound during its main sequence. And release is how long it takes the sound to die completely down and away. Let's check that out in Ableton. So here's our sine wave again. I'm going to adjust our attack so that it's a bit longer. And you can hear how it takes the sound a little bit longer to go up to its full potential. All right, now adjust that. And now let's adjust the sustain volume down. And you can hear it hit that peak and then come back down, decay down to a lower sustain level. And now let's adjust the release, and you'll see my finger will leave the button, but it will take a lot longer to release or completely die away. So that's an ADSR envelope, and that can change your sound, your music. So what is sound design? Sound design is when you combine the waveforms that we talked about with envelope, the ADSR envelope, and you can create synthesizer instruments. You can layer these oscillators to create a sound that's never been heard before. You can use additive synthesis, which is starting from those basic waveforms and combining them and adding envelopes. Or you could also try subtractive synthesis, which means you can open up a synthesizer and try a preset, find one that you like, but adjust different parameters to make it your own. Let's draw a waveform and operator together. So first, go ahead and open up Ableton if it isn't already, and you'll go to the instruments section on the left-hand side, choose operator, and again, either double click or place it on a MIDI track. And you'll want to turn off all but one oscillator in that section. You can turn them off by clicking the square buttons with the letters in them. Now, to your right, you'll see envelope, and then you'll see wave. And you can drop down in that menu to choose user in the wave area. Your bit depth will be on the other side of that wave, and it's either 16, 32, or 64, and it changes the resolution of what your wave will be. Then use the pencil in Ableton to draw your own waveform. You can make it crazy, like a noise wave, or you can do a whole bunch of different stuff. Now you can play your new sound by drawing MIDI notes into a MIDI clip like we did in video 2, or use a MIDI controller. So that's the sound that's the waveform that I drew, and I hope that you get a chance to try your own waveforms and make something really cool. So it's been my pleasure to be in this Keys Beats Bars video series, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.